Today there is a persistent narrative which we are all expected to go along with. The narrative is played on repeat 24/7 through our TVs and radios. It is repeated by politicians, celebrities, journalists, academics, and other leaders. Unquestioning obedience to the narrative is expected, and those who question it face severe consequences. I believe the idea is to make the narrative so loud, so pervasive, that its teachings become unavoidable, to instill the message so completely into the public consciousness that to speak against it becomes unthinkable. It is modern propaganda on a global scale, and its aim is to radically alter how we think and behave. So what is the narrative? It includes almost everything occurring in the public sphere, politically and culturally. Some threads of the narrative include: man-made climate change will destroy the planet. We must radically change everything in society to combat its effects. Lockdowns and mass vaccination are good things and save lives. There are an infinite number of genders. A man can become a woman, and a woman can become a man. Children should be taught about sex and modern gender theories, including trans ideology, at a young age. To be a male and display traditional male traits is toxic. To be female and choose a traditional life rather than modern feminism is unacceptable. If you are white, it is safe to assume you are racist. If you say you are not, that is a sure sign that you are. Obesity is beautiful. The list goes on. Just about every political speech, every talk show debate, every podcast episode is about some thread of the narrative. The common theme with all the differing threads is that the old ways must be replaced with a new so-called progressive type of thinking. The supporters of the narrative will not entertain debate. They believe in their ideology so much that if one dares to question any part of it, they are attacked or denounced as conspiracy theorists, racists, sexist, etc. It is cult-like behaviour on a mass scale, brought about through many years of conditioning. It is the new religion for many of its proponents. It satisfies the religious need for belief in something larger than oneself and a feeling of belonging. Taking climate change as an example, we are constantly reminded to trust the science, and the science is settled. In other words, the time for discussion is over. The time to act is now. Only a non-scientist would speak these words. Only a mind that has been trained to act on emotion rather than logic would take this stance. In reality, science is never settled. It is an ever-evolving search for truth, based on inquiry, experimentation, and replication. It is not dogmatic or emotional. It is factual, and new discoveries can eliminate reliance on old theories overnight. But to point this out immediately makes you a climate change denier. In the world of the cult, things are black and white. You are either with us or against us. This is a dangerous way of thinking, and is a big reason why the world is so divided these days. Believers of the narrative feel morally justified in their approach. They believe they are just, compassionate, and tolerant, and those that do not believe as they do are lesser people, even evil in some way. Their espousal of tolerance is ridiculous, really, because if you have a differing opinion, they will show you no tolerance whatsoever. You will be treated with outright hostility. This narrative is a top-down method of control, designed to cause social collapse, anarchy, and eventually totalitarian control. Its chaotic mix of beliefs are decided by those in power and are drip-fed constantly into society. We have already seen that anyone who stands against the narrative is punished. Big tech deplatform and demonetize creators with the wrong opinion. We saw it in Canada when Trudeau froze bank accounts of protesters. Recently, PayPal attempted to change their terms to include fines of up to $2,500 for users who promote misinformation. What is misinformation? It is anything contrary to the narrative. We are being conditioned to accept the narrative and to disregard free thought and freedom of speech. I'd bet that many now view freedom of speech, the cornerstone of any democracy, as a bad thing. In my home country of Scotland, you can now be sentenced up to 7 years in prison for hate speech, even from conversations had in your own home. What is hate speech? Again, it is anything contrary to the narrative. This targeting of people who do not go along with the narrative will continue. It will get worse and punishments more severe if we do not speak out against this new form of authoritarian control. Freedom of thought and freedom of speech are integral to a free society. The totalitarian control brought about through obedience to the narrative can only succeed if we do not speak out. It relies on social pressure to force us to comply. The way forward is simple. Do not comply. Let's reject these systems of control and stand united for freedom.